The health of Pope Francis has become a subject of increasing concern and speculation within both religious and secular circles, as the 86-year-old pontiff continues to navigate the challenges of aging while leading the world's 1.3 billion Catholics. Recent developments have painted a complex picture of a spiritual leader grappling with multiple physical ailments that could potentially influence not only his personal well-being, but also the future direction of the Catholic Church. At the forefront of these health concerns is the Pope's ongoing battle with knee pain, which has significantly impacted his mobility and forced him to rely on a wheelchair or cane during many public appearances. This condition, reportedly stemming from a combination of osteoarthritis and previous injuries, has raised questions about how long he can continue to fulfill the demanding physical requirements of his office. Compounding these mobility issues are reports of respiratory problems that have occasionally required hospitalization, including a recent bout with pneumonia that alarmed Vatican watchers worldwide. These pulmonary challenges appear to be particularly concerning given the Pope's history as a former smoker and his advancing age, factors that medical experts suggest could exacerbate existing conditions. The convergence of these health issues has led to noticeable changes in the Pope's public schedule, with several high-profile events being either modified or cancelled altogether. Most significantly, his planned visit to Africa was postponed due to health concerns, marking one of several international trips that have been affected by his declining physical condition. Perhaps most alarming to observers was the emergency surgery the Pope underwent for abdominal issues, an event that temporarily shifted global attention to the Vatican and sparked intense media coverage. While official statements maintained optimism about his recovery, behind-the-scenes accounts revealed a more complicated picture of a leader facing serious medical challenges. These health setbacks have occurred against the backdrop of persistent rumors about potential neurological concerns, though the Vatican has consistently downplayed such speculations. The cumulative effect of these various health issues has created a climate of uncertainty about the Pope's ability to maintain his traditionally active role in church affairs and global diplomacy. This situation takes on particular significance when considering the unprecedented nature of modern papal leadership. Unlike many of his predecessors who might have retired to private prayer or delegated significant responsibilities during periods of ill health, Pope Francis has maintained an ambitious agenda of reform and outreach. His determination to press forward despite evident physical limitations speaks to both his commitment to his mission and the unique pressures facing contemporary papal leadership. The intersection of these health challenges with the demands of leading a global religious institution creates a complex scenario where medical considerations inevitably intersect with theological, political, and social dimensions of papal authority. As the Catholic Church continues to grapple with numerous pressing issues, from declining attendance in developed nations to clergy abuse scandals and theological divisions, the question of Pope Francis's health takes on added urgency. The pontiff's physical condition not only affects his ability to perform traditional papal duties, but also influences his capacity to implement his vision of a more inclusive and socially engaged Catholicism. This reality has prompted intense discussion among Vatican insiders, medical professionals, and religious scholars about how best to balance the Pope's health needs with the demands of his office, while simultaneously preparing for potential scenarios that could arise should his condition worsen significantly. The implications of Pope Francis's health challenges extend far beyond the walls of Vatican City, affecting millions of Catholics worldwide who look to the pontiff for spiritual guidance and moral leadership. For many believers, particularly those in developing nations where Catholicism remains a dominant force, the Pope's visible struggles with health issues create a complex emotional landscape. In Latin America, home to nearly 40% of the world's Catholics, parishioners report feeling both concern for their spiritual leader's well-being and inspiration from his continued dedication despite physical limitations. Local priests note an increase in prayers specifically asking for the Pope's recovery, often incorporated into regular mass services alongside traditional petitions. This phenomenon reflects a deep-seated connection between the pontiff's physical presence and the spiritual lives of believers, where each public appearance or cancellation becomes a topic of discussion and reflection within faith communities. In Europe, where secularization trends have challenged traditional Catholic practices, the Pope's health issues have paradoxically reignited interest in papal affairs among younger generations. Social media platforms have seen a surge in posts and discussions about the pontiff's condition, with many non-practicing Catholics expressing renewed curiosity about church teachings and traditions. This unexpected engagement presents both opportunities and challenges for local dioceses, which must navigate between respecting the Pope's privacy and addressing legitimate concerns from their communities. Some bishops have organized special prayer vigils and educational sessions about the role of the papacy in times of health crises, attempting to channel this renewed interest into deeper understanding of Catholic doctrine. The impact on Catholic institutions globally has been equally profound. with seminaries reporting increased inquiries about priestly vocations following media coverage of the Pope's health challenges. Many attribute this trend to what some are calling the Francis effect, where the pontiff's personal example of perseverance despite adversity inspires others to consider religious life. However, this phenomenon has also created practical challenges for church administration, as decisions about major initiatives and reforms are increasingly viewed through the lens of potential leadership transitions. Diocesan leaders find themselves balancing immediate needs with long-term planning, knowing that any major policy shifts could be affected by changes in papal leadership. Particularly noteworthy is the effect on Catholic education systems worldwide, where teachers and administrators report increased student interest in discussions about papal succession and church governance. Religious education curricula have adapted to include more comprehensive sections on these topics, recognizing that current events provide a unique teaching moment about church history and tradition. This development has sparked debate among educators about how to present these sensitive topics while maintaining appropriate respect for the current pontiff and avoiding undue speculation about future leadership changes. The financial implications of the Pope's health situation have also become increasingly apparent, particularly in terms of pilgrimage planning and major church events. Organizers of World Youth Day and other large gatherings face difficult decisions about whether to proceed with events that require significant advance planning and investment, given the uncertainty surrounding the Pope's ability to participate fully. This has led to innovative approaches in event design, with contingency plans becoming standard practice and greater emphasis placed on decentralized celebrations that can adapt to changing circumstances. Perhaps most significantly, the Pope's health challenges have prompted a broader conversation about the relationship between physical infirmity and spiritual leadership within the Catholic tradition. This dialogue extends beyond immediate practical concerns to fundamental questions about how the Church understands human vulnerability and divine providence. Many theologians and pastoral leaders see this moment as an opportunity to deepen the Church's witness to the value of human dignity at all stages of life, using the Pope's example to reinforce teachings about the sanctity of suffering and the importance of community support in times of need. The potential consequences of Pope Francis's declining health extend deeply into the realm of church governance and decision-making processes, creating a complex web of challenges that touch every aspect of Catholic administration. The College of Cardinals, traditionally responsible for advising the Pope and electing his successor, finds itself in an unprecedented position of having to navigate delicate power dynamics while maintaining institutional stability. Several cardinals have reportedly formed informal advisory groups to monitor the situation and prepare for various contingencies, though these efforts remain largely behind closed doors to avoid appearing presumptuous about the Pope's condition. This careful balancing act reflects the tension between respecting papal authority and ensuring continuity in church leadership, particularly regarding time-sensitive matters that require decisive action. One of the most immediate impacts has been on the scheduling and execution of major church decisions, with several key appointments and doctrinal statements experiencing delays or modifications. The Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, responsible for addressing theological controversies and safeguarding church teachings, has reportedly slowed its pace on several pending cases, awaiting clarity on the Pope's ability to provide final approval. Similarly, the process of appointing new bishops has encountered complications, as candidates and stakeholders weigh the potential implications of leadership changes on their prospects and priorities. This hesitation has created a ripple effect throughout the church hierarchy, with diocesan leaders adopting more cautious approaches to long-term planning and resource allocation. The Vatican bureaucracy itself has undergone subtle but significant shifts in response to the Pope's health challenges. Department heads have begun implementing more robust documentation and communication protocols, recognizing the need for clear records and established procedures should leadership transition become necessary. This has led to increased administrative workload and occasional friction between departments vying for limited resources and attention during uncertain times. Particularly affected are the Vatican's diplomatic corps and financial offices, where decisions about international relations and economic investments require stable leadership and consistent policy direction. Perhaps most challenging has been managing the expectations and concerns of local church leaders worldwide. Bishops' conferences in various regions have reported growing anxiety among clergy and laity about the potential impact of leadership changes on ongoing reforms and initiatives. This has created pressure on Vatican officials to provide clearer guidance while avoiding actions that might be interpreted as circumventing papal authority. The situation has been further complicated by differing perspectives on the urgency of various church matters. with some factions pushing for accelerated decision-making while others advocate for maintaining the status quo until the leadership situation stabilizes. The impact on day-to-day church operations has been equally significant, with parishes and dioceses adjusting their approaches to everything from liturgical celebrations to social justice initiatives. Many local leaders find themselves caught between implementing the Pope's progressive vision and preparing for potential shifts in direction under different leadership. This has led to creative compromises and innovative solutions, though not without generating occasional confusion or conflict among parishioners and clergy alike. The challenge of maintaining momentum on important initiatives while acknowledging the reality of potential leadership changes has become a central concern for church administrators at all levels. The intersection of Pope Francis's health challenges with the Catholic Church's ongoing reform efforts has created a particularly complex dynamic, where the pontiff's physical limitations intersect with his ambitious agenda for change. Central to this tension is the synodality process, which represents one of the Pope's most significant initiatives aimed at transforming church governance and decision-making structures. Despite his health setbacks, Pope Francis has demonstrated remarkable determination to push forward with this initiative, viewing it as essential to the Church's future vitality. However, the physical demands of convening and participating in synodal gatherings have necessitated creative adaptations, including increased reliance on virtual meetings and delegated leadership roles. The clergy abuse crisis presents another critical area where the Pope's health issues intersect with reform efforts. As survivor advocacy groups intensify their calls for accountability and systemic change, the Vatican faces pressure to maintain momentum on implementing promised reforms. The Pope's limited mobility has affected his ability to personally engage with survivors and lead high-profile initiatives, leading to concerns about whether the Church's response might lose focus or urgency. To address this, senior Vatican officials have taken on more visible roles in abuse-related matters, though some critics argue that these efforts lack the same moral authority as direct papal involvement. Social justice initiatives, another hallmark of Pope Francis's papacy, encounter similar challenges amid his health concerns. Programs addressing climate change, poverty and migration require sustained attention and personal engagement to maintain momentum. The Pope's reduced travel schedule has impacted his ability to highlight these issues through high-profile visits and direct interventions. In response, the Vatican has developed alternative strategies, including expanded use of digital platforms and empowering local church leaders to carry forward these initiatives. However, some observers note that these adaptations may not fully compensate for the loss of the Pope's personal presence and charismatic leadership in these areas. Ecumenical and interfaith relations represent yet another domain where the Pope's health challenges affect reform progress. His personal relationships with leaders from other Christian denominations and world religions have been crucial in advancing dialogue and cooperation. Physical limitations have made it more difficult to maintain these connections through regular meetings and joint appearances. The Vatican has responded by increasing the role of papal representatives and expanding diplomatic channels, though some partners express concern about whether these substitutes can achieve the same level of personal connection and trust building. Internal church reforms, particularly those addressing issues of transparency and accountability, face additional complications due to the Pope's health situation. Efforts to modernize Vatican finances and administrative structures require consistent oversight and personal intervention to overcome resistance from entrenched interests. The Pope's reduced capacity for direct engagement has sometimes allowed opponents of reform to slow or obstruct progress, creating frustration among reform advocates. This has led to increased reliance on trusted allies within the Curia to advance these initiatives, though some worry that this approach may dilute the original vision, or create new centers of power that could complicate future leadership transitions. Perhaps most significantly, the intersection of health challenges and reform efforts has forced a re-evaluation of how the papacy itself functions in the modern age. The current situation highlights tensions between the traditional model of papal authority, which assumes a physically robust leader capable of extensive travel and personal engagement, and the realities of contemporary leadership in an aging population. This has sparked internal discussions about potential structural changes that could allow future popes to maintain effective leadership while accommodating physical limitations, though these conversations remain largely theoretical given the immediate focus on the current pontiff situation. The potential resignation of Pope Francis, while not officially announced, has become an increasingly discussed possibility among Vatican insiders and religious scholars. Historical precedent for papal resignation is notably limited, with Pope Benedict XVI's 2013 decision to step down being the most recent example in nearly 600 years. This context makes any consideration of resignation particularly significant, especially given the contrasting styles and circumstances between Benedict's departure and the current situation, where Benedict's resignation stemmed primarily from self-assessed inability to meet the physical demands of the office. Pope Francis faces a more complex set of health challenges that intersect with his reform agenda and global influence. The process of papal resignation involves several formal steps and considerations that would need careful navigation. According to canon law, a pope's resignation must be freely made and properly manifested, but doesn't require acceptance by anyone else in the church hierarchy. However, the practical implications of such a decision would be far-reaching and unprecedented in modern times. The Vatican would need to establish clear protocols for managing the transition period, including decisions about the former pope's title, residence, and role in church affairs, questions that were partially addressed during Benedict's retirement but would require fresh consideration given Francis's unique position and influence. Speculation about possible successors has intensified among Vatican watchers, though the College of Cardinals remains officially silent on the matter. The composition of the college, significantly shaped by Pope Francis's own appointments, suggests a likely continuation of his reformist direction, though perhaps with different emphases depending on the chosen candidate. Leading contenders reportedly include Cardinal Matteo Zuppi of Bologna, known for his diplomatic skills and commitment to social justice, and Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich of Luxembourg, who shares Francis's progressive views on several key issues. Other names mentioned include Cardinal Peter Turkson of Ghana and Cardinal Luis Tagle of the Philippines, both representing the Church's growing presence in the global South. The selection process itself could prove particularly challenging given the unprecedented circumstances. Unlike traditional conclaves called upon the death of a pope, a resignation would allow for more deliberate preparation and potentially influence the dynamics of cardinal interactions. This extended time frame might enable more thorough discussions about the Church's future direction and the specific qualities needed in the next pontiff. However, it could also create opportunities for factional maneuvering and increased media scrutiny, potentially complicating the traditionally cloistered nature of conclave proceedings. The impact of a resignation on church morale and public perception presents another significant consideration. While Pope Benedict's departure set an important precedent for papal resignations being acceptable, the circumstances surrounding Francis's potential resignation would likely generate different reactions given his immense popularity and transformative impact on the Church. The challenge would be maintaining continuity in church leadership while acknowledging the unique contributions of the outgoing pontiff, a task made more complex by Francis's global profile and the numerous initiatives he has launched but not yet completed. Regardless of whether resignation occurs, the Vatican faces the pressing need to develop more systematic approaches to papal health management and succession planning. This includes establishing clearer guidelines for delegating responsibilities during periods of papal incapacity, developing more robust support structures for aging pontiffs, and creating mechanisms for ensuring smooth transitions of power. These considerations take on added urgency given the increasing life expectancy of modern popes and the complex demands of contemporary papal leadership, suggesting that the Church may need to fundamentally rethink certain aspects of its governance structure to accommodate future leadership changes. The health challenges faced by Pope Francis have catalyzed a broader conversation about the future of papal leadership and the Catholic Church's adaptation to modern realities. This discourse extends beyond immediate concerns about succession to encompass fundamental questions about how the institution can maintain relevance and effectiveness in an increasingly complex world. Scholars and church leaders are examining historical precedents for adapting papal roles during periods of physical limitation, drawing lessons from medieval practices where administrative functions were sometimes delegated to trusted cardinals or councils. These historical examples provide valuable insights into potential structural reforms that could help future popes manage their responsibilities more effectively while dealing with health challenges. Technological advancements offer promising avenues for maintaining papal influence and accessibility even when physical limitations restrict traditional forms of engagement. The Vatican's gradual embrace of digital platforms during Pope Francis's tenure demonstrates the potential for virtual presence to complement physical appearances. Future developments might include more sophisticated telepresence technologies, enhanced online engagement strategies, and innovative approaches to global outreach that transcend geographical constraints. These technological solutions could help maintain continuity in papal leadership while accommodating the physical realities of aging pontiffs, though they raise important theological questions about the nature of presence and authority in Catholic tradition. The demographic shifts within global Catholicism present both challenges and opportunities for evolving papal leadership models. With the majority of Catholics now living in the global South,
there's increasing pressure to develop leadership structures that better reflect this new reality. This might involve creating regional leadership roles with greater autonomy, establishing more robust mechanisms for incorporating diverse voices into church decision-making, and developing new approaches to papal representation that acknowledge the Church's global nature. Such changes would require careful balancing between maintaining unity and allowing for contextual adaptation, a challenge that has become increasingly pressing as cultural differences within Catholicism continue to grow. Financial and administrative reforms initiated by Pope Francis take on new significance in light of his health challenges, highlighting the need for more sustainable governance models. The Vatican's ongoing efforts to improve transparency and efficiency in its operations could serve as a foundation for developing more resilient administrative structures that can function effectively regardless of the Pope's physical condition. This might involve strengthening the role of the Roman Curia, clarifying lines of authority during periods of papal incapacity, and establishing more formalized procedures for decision-making in sensitive situations. These institutional changes would help ensure continuity in church governance while preserving the essential role of papal leadership. Perhaps most significantly, the current situation provides an opportunity to redefine the concept of papal authority itself. Rather than viewing physical presence and activity as essential components of effective leadership, the Church might explore ways to emphasize spiritual authority and moral leadership that transcend physical limitations. This could involve developing new models of papal ministry that focus more on teaching, writing, and symbolic leadership while delegating certain administrative functions to trusted collaborators. Such an approach would align with Pope Francis's own emphasis on servant leadership, and could help create a more sustainable framework for future papal administrations. The intersection of these various factors, technological possibilities, demographic changes, institutional reforms, and evolving concepts of authority, points toward a potentially transformative moment for the Catholic Church. While the immediate focus remains on Pope Francis's health and the practical challenges of managing the current situation, the broader implications suggest a need for thoughtful consideration of how papal leadership might evolve in the coming decades. This evolution will likely require careful negotiation between tradition and innovation, between centralized authority and distributed leadership, and between maintaining continuity and embracing necessary change. The outcome of these discussions could shape the future of Catholicism for generations to come, making the current moment one of both challenge and opportunity for the world's largest Christian denomination.